We've had a ton of projects that we have been very excited to get to, but we couldn't do them until after the boat was painted. And one of the first things that we're very excited to do now that the boat is painted is install windows. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to get the hull side windows installed and the doghouse windows installed. And we're very excited to see how they turn out. My name is Matt. Follow along as I turn Duracell, the legendary ocean racing sailboat, into a comfortable cruising home. The challenge with this project is to make windows that look really, really nice, but also won't leak, won't pop out of the boat.
Our old buddy Scott was in town for a few days and he helped me get going on this window project. The first and most satisfying step was removing some of the masking from the paint job.
We may be able to just use the tape that's on here. Oh yeah, go for
it. All the side ones?
Yeah, let's just do this side for now. Because they, in theory, should be identical from one side to the other.
I drew all of our windows in CAD and sent Brandon at Turnpoint Design all of the drawings so he could accurately cut out all the windows for me. But first he cut out mock-ups of the windows so that I could double check that my drawn windows will fit their given openings. So Scott and I used double-sided tape to tape up the mocked-up windows into position. And then we could mark up the boat and the windows to make sure that there is adequate bonding area around each window.
All right, so Scott and I confirmed that these mock-ups that Brandon cut fit. And so the next step is go back to Brandon's with the acrylic we're going to use to make the windows, and he's going to cut out all of our windows.
Brandon's machine cut out 10 deadlights. This is for the 8 lights in the hull plus 2 extra. We are using 3/8 inch thick 2074 cast acrylic. The 2074 indicates that it is the darkest of the gray tints so that the windows provide a bit more privacy and won't be hot.
This acrylic comes with this paper backing. It's on both sides. The next step is we're going to paint a border that's around the perimeter of the outside of the window. And the purpose of the border is to protect the sealant, the adhesive sealant that's glued the window in from UV. When Brandon cut out the windows, he actually took another bit and traced a border 1 1/8 inch from the inside or from the outside of the window to make the border so that we can use this paper backing as masking. It's actually very, very convenient about this backing is that you can use it as masking. So what my mom and I are going to do today is scuff this border with 320 grit on all the windows, on all 8 windows. I actually have 10 windows. We made 2 extras in case one does break or we have some kind of failure. We're going to scuff all these and then we're going to get them painted today. And then tomorrow we can actually start installing the windows.
only want the paint to go on the outside of the window, not on the edge. So my mom and I masked the edges before we painted. And of course, we cleaned them really well with alcohol, wiping and then wiping off the alcohol with a clean rag.
My mom and I scuffed the borders around all the whole side windows in order for paint. And what I'm going to be using is All Grip's G-Line paint. A while back, I was worried about this paint with the solvents in it crazing or melting the acrylic like acetone does. So I did a test piece, and as you can see, that it turned out really good. There's no crazing or anything, and it stuck really well to the acrylic. So I think this will work great as the borders. What I'm gonna do is spray it on, and the initial coat would be like a fine mist coat. It's like a tack coat, and then I'll put 2 more coats of this black on there to get really good coverage.
In all my projects, I spend a lot of time researching, just trying to figure out what are the best materials to use or the best methods to build something. I obviously have a ton of help from people like Evan and Al. For some specific things, I am using Google all the time. And for this window project, I was trying to figure out how to paint this border around the outside of the window. I haven't had to do this before because I always used CKED in the past, and CKED uses this black primer, which creates this border so you don't have to paint one on the outside. Anyway, I was researching this black border, and as you all know, AI is becoming easier and easier to use, and it led me down this path to believe that the All Grip would be a good paint for painting the black border. And so my confession is that I was using AI, and it led me to paint this All Grip, and I tested it, and I thought it worked, but then it didn't. And so it's I'm going to be way more careful about using that tool to do my research.
Yeah. Now, obviously, this paint peels right off, and this is not the fault of All Grip paint. This is just I didn't do this. I didn't use the right paint to do this, and so what I'm going to do is install these windows anyway, because I really want to see how they look. I can install them without peeling the paint off. Later, I'll come back once I've figured out which product will stick to this acrylic. I will come back and peel the paint off and apply new paint. I don't think it'll be that difficult. If you have any ideas about what I should use, my plan is to use this Krylon Fusion all-in-one paint. Supposedly it sticks to everything, and it's a good outdoor paint, and so I'm gonna give that a try. If you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them. There's also the vinyl sticker decal option. It's really expensive. It would be like $1,000 to do all my windows. And so if anybody has any ideas, I'm happy to, or I'd love to hear them.
We decided to start the window project by cutting and installing the whole side port lights, or miraculously, dead lights, because they won't open. In preparation for installing the window, my mom masked the openings to prevent dust getting inside the boat while I sanded the perimeter. I sanded the window recesses again to make sure that there were no smooth or loose bits to promote good adhesion for the silicone glue. And after the sanding, we masked.
So for our viewers who don't know, Matt used to work in a boatyard in Seattle and then followed by a few years as an independent shipwright. And he got kind of a reputation in the Seattle area as being the window guy. A lot of people called on you to install their boat windows, fix their leaky windows. Have your methods changed since you were the Seattle window guy?
A little bit, I would say. So one thing I used to do when I installed windows in Seattle was I would vacuum bag them to the boat, and this was to double check that they were sealed. I've found that was kind of an unnecessary step, but every project was different. I used to use Sikaflex and the primer to install windows, but as long as there's a good clamping method, I really like this silicone, the SCS 2000. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. It's all about staying clean.
Okay, 7 more to go. I wish I could just throw some glue on these things and stick them up, but unfortunately there's a lot to consider when installing acrylic windows like this. So the first thing is that acrylic expands and contracts a lot. And the bigger the window is, the more that it will expand when they heat up. And the glue that you use has to be able to elongate or stretch with the window. And so the depth of the glue is a major factor in how much the glue will stretch. The bigger the window, the bigger the gap has to be. With these size windows and the sealant I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch gap, which means I have to have 1/4 inch spacers to make sure that when I stick the window up, that much glue is going to be maintained between the window and the frame. So what I'm using is this foam. It's like a closed cell, high density foam with a sticky back on one side. What I'm going to do is actually use this foam as a double-sided tape. I'm going to use spray adhesive on one side to make it double-sided. And this foam will also act as my clamp, essentially. So it will make the gap for the sealant, and it will also hold the window in place while that sealant cures. And so the first step will be to cut away the masking that's on the back of the window, where the tape and the sealant will be applied, and then we can go to put the windows up in the boat. All right, so I'm going to use spray adhesive on the other side of this high density foam so that I can stick it to the window as my gap, as my spacer for my gap. All right, I got my foam tape on there. The next thing I'm going to do is sand the perimeter of these where the glue will bond to the acrylic. And so I'm gonna use 220 grit and then we'll clean it really well. Like I said, the key to success in these projects is always to keep everything super clean. Okay, so I've got these sanded. I'm gonna clean them off. I'm using just alcohol. Again, if you use a stronger solvent like acetone, it like can melt or craze the plastic, the acrylic. So yeah, here I'm using alcohol. I'm gonna wipe it on and then wipe it off so that it pulls all the dust off as I'm cleaning. What day is today? So these are 3/8 inch tall spacers that I'm cutting from my roll of foam tape. That foam tape is going to be used for the bigger windows. But I'm using these as spacers around the perimeter of the window so that it is perfectly centered in the opening that's in the boat. All right, I'm ready to glue this thing in. So again, I'm using SCS 2000. This is a silicone, it's a structural silicone. The biggest challenge with this stuff is it takes like 3 days to cure, so you have to be able to clamp whatever you're gluing in place for that long. That's why I'm using this tape, this foam tape. I'm gonna peel the backing off and that adhesive will stick to the window frame and hold the window in place while this silicone cures. I've cut like a V-notch into the tip of the silicone cartridge, and so that will distribute exactly how much silicone is necessary so that when I press it up against the boat, it's going to have a nice bonding profile onto the window frame that's not too much glue. I know that I like to say you use an embarrassing amount of glue, but in this case, I don't want to. I want to use just the right amount. So that the glue doesn't go everywhere and mess up my foam tape especially, and leaves a perfect 1/4 inch of glue in the gap. So anyway, I'm going to put glue on here. We're going to stick it in the boat and hope it sticks.
Voila.
Voila! Nice. All right, we're gonna let this cure until tomorrow, which isn't a full cure, but it'll be set enough that we can pull these spacers out, which are also helping clamp the window in place, and we'll fill the gap around the window with more silicone. Okay. That's window number 4. 4 more to go. more to go. All right, now the glue has set enough that I can do my backfilling. So I was just waiting long enough where when I peel the tape, the masking, I'm not going to disturb the glue that's been set already. So now what I can do is peel out my little spacer blocks and then just stuff this seam around the window with the silicone. And the purpose of this is to look nice, obviously, but also to waterproof the whole thing.
Voila.
Voila. You want to go pull the paper off the inside?
Yep. Ta-da!
Cool. That has been a long time coming.
We've talked about this in the past, but a lot of you will notice that the window is askew from the cabinet. And so that's because our windows are in parallel to the shear. And what we're going to do to fix that is install these frames that square it up. This is just a rough kind of mock-up. Obviously, these will be varnished and everything. It'll look really nice when it's all done. And obviously, I have to pull off the paper on the outside of the window. I'm actually going to leave it on until the border is done, and then I'll peel the paper off.
Again, we are using 2074 acrylic, which is the darkest of the gray tints. This is for more privacy. It's harder to see through them from the outside, but they will also be not as hot as the lighter tints. The doghouse windows will be a lighter tint than these deadlights, and I'll be installing those next week. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, crap. Oh, I totally forgot to do something.
Applied to the boat. Ah, Thunderbird. Or, God damn it, I gotta start over again.